It's Adrien Bo, CEO of Adrien Bo Auction and Training. Today is the 14th of December and this is my weekly market wrap after an outstanding day of auctions. Just summarising the national property market for the week and the main highlights. What we saw was 2,215 auctions nationwide throughout the country this week. Last weekend, there was a clearance rate of only 57.6% as a medium across Australia, which that's certainly slightly concerning given those numbers are quite down. And also what we did see, fortunately, during the week was a pause on the cash rate remaining at 4.35% from the Reserve Bank of Australia. All banks now have revised their forecast for interest rates to be reduced. They were suggesting potentially in February. Now they've forecasted for May. However, that is, I feel, just a backstop because of the election, and it potentially in May they could reforecast until September. The best judges of the economy are suggesting that rates are unlikely to come down until the latter part of 2025. The main reason being is that the mainstream media mainly focus on what's called headline inflation. Now, headline inflation includes all goods and services, including the volatile ones such as food and fuel, for example. And yes, it is true that headline inflation has come down. However, the RBA focuses on core inflation, or sometimes referred to as underlying inflation, and that is still at 3.5%. And as we all know, the Reserve Bank are obsessed about a target of a inflation rate between 2 and 3%. So that tells us we still have some time to go. It tells us that people are still spending too much money. And in saying that, I personally feel that the 2 to 3% target is completely antiquated. It was designed in the mid-90s. Since then, we've had multiple black swan events, including the GFC and a pandemic. So I think 3.5% as a core or underlying inflation is completely acceptable and should trigger a rate reduction. However, I'm a contrarian and seen as quite a pariah in the marketplace when it comes to economics. In saying that, I do have a master's degree in that area, so I'm certainly not speaking from a place of ignorance. Now, today, what an outstanding day of auctions that I conducted on behalf of Ray White, the Tessalon Group, Quakers Hill. Now, last week's national average clearance rate, as I stated previously, was 57.6%. And what a sharp contrast that we conducted today proudly and humbly, which was 85%. That's selling 5 out of 6 properties. 2 good metrics for you. Number one, the average number of registrations was 4 to 5, and all properties we sold were above reserve price. What does this tell me, and what did I observe? I observed outstanding agency work from Josh and his team. I observed owners who are under control and calm due to over-communication from the team and also from myself, because part of my service is that I speak to the owners on multiple occasions during the week and then also have a meeting with them just before the auction. And what I also observed is great activity on the auction floor with buyers and full transparency around pricing and also accuracy from the team in terms of their perception of buyers' budgets. That is an auctioneer's dream. So I was delighted to call those auctions today, but I was also equally delighted to be involved in the negotiations when it came to pausing the auction, speaking to the vendor, speaking to buyers, and help to close the gap if necessary and put the transaction together. having so much experience in listing and selling real estate myself. So all above reserve with at least 4 registered parties was an outstanding result, and 5 out of 6 and an 85% clearance rate. Again, there is a huge dichotomy between that and the national clearance rates, and that just comes down to process, it comes down to transparency, it comes down to commitment, it comes down to consistency, and it comes down to the real estate gods rewarding hard work. Now, the properties that went up today for auction: 117 Dongola Circuit in Schofields, and that sold for over the reserve price again, and that was $1,335,000. An outstanding freestanding home there, very competitive auction. Then we went on to 153 Frederick Street in the precinct of Laylaw Park, and that sold for $1,085,000. Terrific, outstanding result with 6 registered parties there. And then we went on to 4 Lucan Place in Minchinbury, a very emotional and competitive auction, and that sold for $1,205,000, smashing the reserve price with 4 registered parties. Then we went on to the double header Marsden Park special, which was 7 Dempsey Street in Marsden Park, selling for $1,022,500, and then straight to 5 Ceylon Street in Marsden Park, which sold for a whopping $1.305. And people are saying that auctions don't work in Marsden Park. Well, let me tell you, nothing could be further from the truth, because we had a 100% success rate in Marsden Park, and I feel that auctions work in any area if you as the agent and you as the auctioneer believe in the process and also carry out the process with full conviction, full confidence, and with full transparency with both buyers and sellers. Now, Chloe in the leasing department had an outstanding lease of the week this week, being 109 and 109A in Singer Road there in North Kellyville, and they leased for $900 and $850 per week respectively. Now, what an outstanding weekend. I've still got another weekend of auctions next week. I might have to wear a Santa hat for that one, and that is still a terrific week of auctions. And let me tell you, anyone who sold today or purchased today, or who sells next week or purchases next week, will be sitting down at their Christmas lunch, and let me tell you, that lunch is going to taste a hell of a lot better knowing that they've secured a property pre-Christmas, or knowing that they've sold their property pre-Christmas. So until next week, God bless, live with virtue.